They're tiny, they're toony, they're all a little guilty for us having an early awakening leading to degeneracy. But who doesn't love bunny girls, especially when you accidentally catch a glimpse of those soft, pink, delicate little paw pads? Just thinking about those fluffy little bunny tails makes me want to bust loose, and that's exactly what we're doing in this fast-moving, colorful, and cartoony action platformer that's invading your TV. It's the franchise tie-in created as a soulless product to be sold to dumb children, published by a pachinko machine manufacturer that once made some pretty okay video games back in the 90s. This is Tiny Toon Adventures, Buster Busts and Buster Busts Loose. This one may seem a bit out of place, and it kinda is, but not really. Many of the games we look at have more to do with the source material they come from than the content of the cartridge. And in this case, it is most definitely the series itself that is the must-see for anyone who may have missed out. That isn't to say this game isn't great on its own, but if you grew up with the show, you had an amazing childhood, regardless of the nightly beatings. At Acme University, we start our Toon journey with a level intro duologue from Buster and Babs Bunny, no relation. And while I was always confused about the actual level of education provided by said alma mater, it is in fact a big girl college for real adults, with the Toons themselves in canon all going into debt over tuition. These anthro ladies are legal, and it would seem that the tiny in Tiny Toons is meant to refer to the fact that they are all just really short. This may sound like some weird neckbeard mental gymnastics used to excuse wanting to bang a cartoon mink, but in reality this is just part of a long-running joke from many similar studios treating their characters as real actors, spending decades in the industry becoming old and jaded while still attempting to play their original younger versions in front of the camera.
Hey, I sure got a lot to learn about cartoons.
Yeah.
Babs is right, we're playing a video game, so let's walk and talk. This is a notoriously short one, even more so due to the fact that most of the content is gated behind the hardest difficulty. So this is also one of those personal bucket list games, being one that I had never fully explored as a child. It is fully packed, however, trying its best to squeeze in every character possible, including buff Arnold Schwarzenegger dog, who probably has more screen time in the game than the actual series. The gameplay is very simple. Just running and jumping, with the occasional flip attack thrown in. However, if you have old person reflexes, you may run into a challenge or two along the way. Old person memory seems to be doing fine, however, and I can still clearly remember the hidden items, which will be very important. Every level in hard mode starts you off with only one health point, and this game can be cheap at times, so you really want to grab every single one-up and health item thrown your way, just for extra bullshit insurance. Our first boss up is Dizzy Devil, who stands out a bit, being a non-villainous character who cannot be defeated through damage. Instead, you need to chase him around the kitchen conveyor belts, attempting to force-feed him in an almost Mario Brothers-like scenario, which can get kinda tricky on hard mode, surprisingly. Another old strategy I remember is using the doorways as safe zones, so you don't actually have to dodge while he's attacking. All we have to do is keep stuffing him until he passes out satisfied and satiated. And let's not pretend for a second that this isn't a metaphor. We have more than established this show is made by pervert furry artists. I can smell my own kind. Wheel of Morality, turn, and yes, I know that's from a different show, but Animaniacs does have its own game. On one hand, I've heard rumors that it's complete trash, but on the other, I would love the excuse to draw Rule 34 of Hello Nurse, so you never know. Up first is Hampton, who has this weird puzzle game I could never figure out when younger. It's actually not that complicated, with pieces simply flipping location as you move the blank tile. However, now that I fully understand its functions, how in the hell was a small child supposed to figure this one out? 0 out of 5. Worst minigame of the bunch. Try to avoid this one. Stage 2, the Wild West level, and while I was able to track down a real episode with similar themes, it would seem to have a completely different plot from the game's version, which opens focused on Montana Max in the villain role, out to get more money to add to his collection of money. The first part is very relaxed, both in tone and feel, but it hides one of the most important game mechanics you will need to master, the jump rope. It may seem like a time waster in the moment, but I want you to take it in for later, get intimate with its timing, and even show off a little with a few backflips. After building up a healthy sweat, we Donkey Kong our way up to the top of the saloon/brothel looking for some cheap tail when we come across Montana Max robbing the place blind. And if this were easy mode, the stage would end right here. This is the highlight of the stage and the entire game. An auto-scroll train ride that has you racing across mountaintops in order to keep up with the locomotive as it speeds through tunnels. You then make your way across a disconnected section that is falling apart piece by piece as the bridge collapses beneath you. From there, you head inside to fight with some random thugs before taking on this mini-boss from the show that could be Satan, but I'm not sure. We then hop across some debris in order to get to another section of the train where we fight Arnold once again before pro-skating ourselves up a ramp and high-fiving the moon before landing at the front of the train, ready to take on the engine itself in a 1v1. And I don't know what it is with Super Nintendo games and trains, but I'm pretty sure we're about to suplex this bitch. Begging for our help like a sniveling little coward, we team up with Montana to double pump a minecart, hitting 88 miles per hour and making our escape back to the future, by which I mean the next minigame. It's your girl Babs, and I may have been wrong about remembering this game, because I swear I used to always go for her in the minigames to rack up lives, but this playthrough I did not get shit. And even worse, I legit do not even remember this level, and there's a reason. Level 2 really was the showcase, going high budget with the set pieces, but this haunted house level mostly consists of you taking your time, going down a few hallways while kicking a ghost or two and using some springboards, before quickly arriving at the entrance to the boss's chambers. And again, if this were easy mode, the level would just end here. This time we're up against that random buff monster bro who has a crush on Babs, and this one's kinda alright. Your objective is to save the guy, so hitting him does nothing beyond some pushback. The real goal is to kite him around the room, flip kicking the screws he throws at you to send them back towards the machine that is sitting center. Do enough damage and it will explode, brutally killing that random lesbian in the background and freeing our muscle bro, allowing him and Babs to sneak off for some quality alone time. It's Plucky Duck's Lucky Suck Bingo for Cucks. You've got 6 balls, making it incredibly painful to walk, and I did not win a fucking thing. Moving on. And it's the football level, which has always been terrible, but ironically is based on one of the more iconic episodes. This is as simple as it gets, with your only goal being to get to the literal goal to the right of screen. I'm sure there's a pattern to this, but I ain't got time to figure it out, and instead just keep trying to move the ball as quickly as possible, since resetting to first is pretty easy, and your real enemy is that time clock. Up next in the minigame showcase is Furball getting in some single-player squash, and if you are in the need of extra lives, this is the one to aim for. Even though I was completely terrible at this game, it will just throw you 1-ups out of pity. 5 out of 5, highly recommend. From 5 stars, we are dropping right back down to 0, and if I were allowed to dip into the negatives, then that's what it would receive. My disappointment is immeasurable. But all melodrama aside, this is a bit sad. Konami was arguably at their retro peak when this came out, and they were very vocal about wanting Tiny Toons to be just as big a game series for them as their Ninja Turtle titles. But it is very clear that this game was specifically made for an American rental market, with that big over-the-top second level that most would see, but fail to get past in the limited time they had with the game. Do I really have to explain why this level is terrible? You can see it on screen, as I just float along with the slow-moving scroll, waiting for it to just end. It's our final wheel spin, and I forgot this character's name, but so did the game, and considering it's been roughly 639 years since I've seen this show, only forgetting one background character ain't too bad, and says a lot about how well they did establishing a memorable cast. This is another easy one for racking up lives, as it is completely random, due to being a simple whose number is bigger game, and statistically will hand you 2 to 3 1-ups every time, even if you just button mash your way through it. It's also kind of funny that the characters get upset when they lose. Like Babs, why are you mad? You just lost the who is the biggest fat ass contest, which would make you the winner at life. Go big or go home is the theme of our last level, and while the presentation is all here with the scenario hitting on one of the larger budget movie parodies from the show, it also feels completely disconnected. High concept episodes based on other franchises were nothing out of the ordinary for Tiny Toons, and these specials were usually much higher effort than the standard. However, it feels incredibly disconnected in this game, that for the most part has only featured characters from the regular episodes and mostly consisted of the main cast. This part was ultimately disappointing as well. Now, let's be realistic. No one was expecting some amazing Oscar-worthy scene with so much depth and meaning it metamorphosed into a life-changing event. Especially when it's a cash-grab product being marketed towards the parents of small children who rent games from a video store in order to shut them up. However, I was under the impression that I had missed out on something, and that something was absolutely nothing. This level would be perfectly serviceable as the halfway point for any generic platformer from the time. But with how all of this is locked away and teased, it's incredibly pathetic, and there is absolutely no reason they had to hide any of this in the other difficulties, outside of padding that playtime. And near the end I just stopped trying, bum rushing my way through to the final boss knowing we had plenty of extra lives to blow. Entering the final dungeon, we are confronted by a Star Wars cosplayer, the absolute worst of humanity, but I would probably be a bit more invested if this wasn't the first and last time we were meeting the final boss. Reflecting back on our long 20-minute journey, we recall the rope training we received from Bondage Master Lopez and his twin sister Mistress Chavez, utilizing that skill to flip about the enemy's large gun, dislodging him and turning the villain's own weapon into his final undoing. Princess Babs saved, she goes in to give our hero his reward, and just like Star Wars, Tiny Toons has also been retconned, and Babs and Buster are in fact, yes, relation. It's like poetry, they rhyme. That's your sister, bro. And now this game contains incest, bumping that score right back up to a 5 out of 5. Highly recommend. And that was Tiny Toons, Buster be busting, and Ami was not lying. The power unit in this PC really did pop and catch fire during the original recording of this monologue, but hey, shit happens, we can improvise. I probably had a bit more to say during the first recording, but that was 2 videos ago, which is forever. But I can say that I am both happy to have finally gone back to beat this one, but also disappointed in what it really was. Even more so, since this game came out right next to Turtles in Time, a legendary classic that Konami was also promising to deliver here, but clearly they did not put the same effort in. This is still an alright game, and worth at least a quick pass if you've never played it. The wall run mechanic is kinda neat, and the second level train section is still great, just don't expect anything more. The Spoopy Month videos have been thrown off a bit, and we may even downgrade that Fatal Frame gameplay to an Ami vid. However, with her new segment, it may also mean that we can sneak in a few more that might actually be better anyway, so we shall see. As always, a big thank you to everyone for watching, and to everyone who helped with that repair bill by grabbing Indepth this week, and I will catch you in the next one.